Is Artistic Reflections. This is the second episode. My name is George, and today I'll be talking with Anna Sofia. She's a classical singer, and this conversation will be in English. So I'm going to invite her in now, and she can tell us a little bit about herself. Here we go. Hello.
Hi.
Long time no see.
I know, like 10 minutes. Thanks for having me.
Exactly. Do you want to wait a little bit, or do you want to get started? Do you
I
want a
don't
glass?
mind. I don't mind. You're the talk show host.
You want to have a glass of wine?
I would love a glass of wine. It's a bit of like an unsocial hour, but I'd never say no.
Exactly, God Christ. Well, for the people that doesn't know, you do like to present yourself, tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So my name's Anna Sofia Churchill, as George said, and I'm a classical soprano. I mainly sing in opera and classical music.
Great. Where are you at the moment, right now?
So at the moment, I'm at my family home in England. And for those who don't know, my family is half Italian, half British. Italy was obviously having some problems. Then the UK had a lot worse problems, but I chose to pass the confinement in England.
Okay. How is it going so far with your family?
Luckily, my family are all fine. Even the ones in the south, I think south of Italy, that is, I think they got really bored, but luckily they were okay. In this part of England, everything has been fine, to be honest. We're in the countryside, there's space, people can, they can move about. I think they were moving about when probably they weren't supposed to be, but that's universal.
Yeah. Everybody's just bored, I think.
Yeah, but now it's okay. Things are opening up, so we can see, I think, up to 6 people. So even this morning I went out cycling with like 5 friends and it was fine. So it's just a slow step back to the new normality, I guess.
Reality, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about like all this that has happened and still happens? What do you think it's like the positive and the negative thing, personally and professionally?
So personally, I think we have all experienced really amazing moments of solidarity in the places that we live, maybe also politically in some cases. In terms of the environment, that's been amazing to see the positive effects on that. Even just being in the countryside, it's been amazing just to be able to smell nature instead of to smell pollution. So that's been incredible. Also just having time with family. Before, I don't think I came home for like 2.5 months, and now I've been home for 3. Like that's, at first I was quite concerned about it, but now I thought, wow, that's amazing. I don't know when I'm ever going to be able to do that again. Professionally, there've definitely been some blows for all art. If we're speaking specifically about the arts, for all artists, I had some big cancellations of things that I've worked towards for years, because in art form it's a life's work. So when you get a cancellation that really could have started to launch your career, that's a hard thing to take in. But on the positive, I think there has been a solidarity of artistic institutions, or at least artists, being just admitting, okay, this is really shit, and what can we do? We need to keep working, we need to keep practicing. And now it's amazing to see with the Black Lives Matter movement that the arts are really starting to speak out about injustices, about how they need support to be able to keep going. Everyone knew that before, but they weren't talking about it.
Like so, everything was much more like this has sorted.
Yes, right. Exactly. So it's been amazing to see opera houses posting on social media about the effects of COVID for starters, and now how they're all supporting and promoting Black artists and Black composers and things like that. Before it was female artists, now it's Black. So it's good to
change, like, for progress. I think it's really quite great, actually.
Yeah, I just hope that the progress will keep happening, whether that's like environmental progress, political progress, racial progress. Like, I just hope that the things that we've experienced in this time continue.
Yeah, I feel the same ways. Like, I think this year, even though like it has been hard, but in some points it's good to see like things actually changing.
Yeah.
And not only like, for females that showed up for auditions and, they get judged just on the way they look.
Yep.
And the same thing with the Black Lives Matter. It's like you show up for an audition and you just know you don't have it.
Yeah.
Of that, and to see like people like, this is not okay, this is not okay, this is not okay, and instead of just being like, this is not okay, swipe, it's like, this is not okay, let's fix it.
Yeah, it's been, at the beginning of COVID, I thought, oh my God, this is awful. Everything's just going to crash and burn. We're going to lose all our platforms. We're going to lose all our ability to create or to promote things. But actually, it's been crazy how much people, maybe just with, I guess, pure frustration, have just thought, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to say something. I'm going to post something. We're going to talk about it. And I think that's amazing. And you're right. Like, I think especially for female artists and artists of color, sometimes you think, oh, what's the point? Like, I don't look the part. I'm not necessarily, a size 0 and blonde, and I don't look like I'm 15. So I'm never going to get cast as Juliet. But you still show up and you do it. And well, you can speak for artists of color. I think there's an amazing perseverance that's happening, and that's being aided by people talking. So I just hope it continues.
Not just like talking, but like you can see like people actually doing things, which is really nice. Because like, I think it was like 2 years ago, I listened to a masterclass, and I'm not going to say names, but it's the guy was like, well, if you don't look pretty, don't audition.
Yeah, it's hugely judgmental.
What are you saying? Like, it looked like I was the only one shocked, and yet I was like, why are you listening to this? Like, this is not the point of what we all do. And like myself being Black, it's just insane to like auditions that I do. You can feel when you go on the audition, and you just see the panels just go.
Yeah, it happens. If you don't look like what they want, if you don't look like what they want, it doesn't even matter how many years of work you've put into it, or how you sound, or how you play on the day. And there's been so much conformity before because people have been scared. Like, I've been scared as a woman to speak up and say, actually, I felt really uncomfortable in that audition. I felt like a piece of meat. And I'm sure people of color have been like, well, I'm not even going to bother because I don't look like anyone else who's in that institution or on that stage. Yeah, we need to bother.
We need to bother. We need to go for it, and then we need to, we need to be involved, really, not just like, as I was saying before, like, oh, this is wrong, but then we don't quite pay attention to it. We just disappear. It's like, show up, do your thing, do your work, and then like, speak up. Like, yesterday I saw a couple of posts about this clarinetist. She was Black, and she was like posting like quotes that has happened with her personally, and it was insane how I was seeing myself in some of those posts. Like, like she was saying like, oh, being Black classical musician is being followed by the security because you're not supposed to be backstage, but you're
big question.
And it's just things like this that no one says, but it's happening. Yeah,
and it's been allowed to happen for too long, across the board in the arts. Like, you can see it in Hollywood with Harvey Weinstein, I never say his name right, but that asshole anyway. It happens across the board. And even if it's something like, you know, about a year ago, I stopped wearing dresses to auditions because I felt like every time I wore a dress, I would be looked at for how I look rather than what I brought as an artist. So I said, screw that, I'm wearing trousers. And even an agent in New York where I was singing last year said, well, you look great, but you would look better if you put on stilettos. And I thought, do you have any idea how difficult it is to sing? Like to sing opera? Why would I want to do that on like a 3 or 4 inch platform? If some singers like that, and that's fine. Like if it's a singer's personal choice to do that, I think it's fine. But I was like, a man telling me that I would have better opportunities in the United States if I wore stilettos to my auditions. I was like, how is that relevant? So I was just like, well, you'll get a kitten here if you're lucky.
You can't sing a B flat if you don't have stilettos.
I was like, you need to like, you know, sing into your thighs. Like, how can you do that if you're worried that you're going to fall over? But someone just wrote a comment. What do you think about this horrible form that we need to fill in when applying for a job called Equal Opportunities, in which you need to tell the panel all about your religion and ethnicity?
Whoa. I just like give up like immediately. I've done that like twice when I was applying for jobs and he was saying color. Yeah, he said like color, and I was like, what is this? Like what's why should this matter? And then I didn't apply for that job, and I sent them an email saying like I find it quite incredible that I think it was 2019, that in 2019 we still have to fill up forms where you have to say what is your skin color.
Yeah, like, and what is your sexual orientation?
Or your religion. And just like,
yeah,
what does that bring to the job?
I applied for an opera studio about 10 months ago, and they wanted to know my race, obviously, my height, my weight, and they wanted measurements. Like, okay, if the costume department's asking you for your measurements, that's one thing, but an application form, I was like, why do my height and weight matter? So yeah, it's a horrible part of the process, actually. I don't think it should be allowed.
Yeah, true.
Quite frankly, your color or your sexual orientation or your height or your weight should have absolutely no bearing on how you're judged as an artist.
In every school in the UK they have this. Yeah, true.
Yeah, it exists.
So it's like small things that with time it's natural, you know.
Yeah.
Like in my case is, you know, oh, you play the harpsichord. Interesting. And you know, it's that kind of thing that you don't quite tilt. And you know, because I was young and I have this vision of the world where like we're all like the same and we all have the same opportunities, which we do. But it's these small things where like in the beginning it was like, oh, you play the harpsichord. Oh, I thought that was like for, you know, high class people, social people. And I'm like, it's an instrument, first of all.
It's an instrument that everybody should have access to learn and play.
Whatever I want, really. I can, if I want to be a singer, I can be a singer.
Yeah, everyone should.
It shouldn't really matter where you are from, what race you are from, sexual orientation. It's just, it doesn't has anything to do with what we do.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. It's
a way to vet the kind of people that they want representing their institutions or their theatres, and it shouldn't be allowed, like at all. It's completely irrelevant. I'm not sure if it exists in other jobs, but if other jobs can say, or other industries can say, no, this isn't okay, this is outward discrimination, then I don't understand why it should exist in the arts, which traditionally, you know, as artists, we're normally proud of how liberal the arts are and how expressive it is, but that freedom of expression should be allowed to exist and not be put in a box of what the top dogs want it to look like.
True.
So we've got a lot of work to do.
Brenda, calm down with your questions. I still have a couple of questions to ask. You do it like in a retrain. Yeah, well, I think in my case, I don't. It's hard to because I when I see those questions, I usually don't fill up the form. Do you know what I mean? Like when it's those kind of questions, I'm just like, do I
Yeah.
really want to do this? And then what I usually do is I send an email. I'd be like, I'm really interested in this job, but I don't find this, asking me my sexual orientation or my race. I don't find it appropriate in, whatever, 2018 or 2019. This is when I started applying for jobs. And now 2020, I don't think it's okay to ask someone, what's your race?
Yep.
It has no implication whatsoever in your job.
Yeah.
Just ask like, what is your qualifications? What's your references? Show us a video. I don't know, something.
Yeah.
That is the job. It's not,
yeah, that's what the job is. It's what you can deliver as a performer on the day. Everything else, it shouldn't matter. Like in a way, I don't even think your qualifications should matter that much. Like in some countries, it's very difficult to get into a master's program if you don't have a bachelor in music. I don't have a bachelor in music because I wanted to go and study something else, but I've been blocked at several conservatoires abroad because I don't have that. And it's like, well, I was quite lucky. I was educated in some of the, well, in very, very good schools and universities. I had that opportunity. And I just thought, how are other people feeling? The people who haven't been able to have access to this kind of education, but they have an immense talent. They're blocked at every hurdle. Because, if you look at something and it says, oh, in order to study here, you need to have this, and that. Well, at least in the UK, it costs thousands of pounds to get that as well. Like, it's ludicrous how expensive it is. And so some people are blocked from the get-go, even if they hear or they go and see an opera or they hear an opera or they hear harpsichord music in your case and they think, wow, I really want to do that. All they have to do is look and say, oh, well, 1 year bachelor could cost me £9,000. I can't do it. And then they're blocked at the first hurdle. And then when you're still like a young artist or you start having a professional career, you get these forms and you're like, are you joking? I've worked half my life to get to the place that I'm at, and you're interested in whether I'm into guys or girls.
Exactly.
It's just like,
if I was born in high class society or low class society, it's just it's so frustrating sometimes. It really is.
Yeah.
But and this leads me to my next question.
Okay.
That does this like keeps you motivated? What keeps you going motivated?
So the first thing that kept me motivated during COVID was my cancellations, because I felt so bad about that. I decided, okay, Anna, if you want to keep up a good work ethic, you have to work and practice as if those things weren't cancelled. So that was my first step. Then I was motivated because I realized how lucky I am, that I had a really nice family home to go to, that, yeah, the UK government isn't really, it's doing a little bit for people who are self-employed, but it's not enough to live on. So I'm lucky that I have a family that can support me or that could like take me in for COVID, and that I have my piano and that I could work and I can still afford to have my singing lessons. So that acknowledgement of my privilege to be able to do that also gave me motivation, just as an acknowledgement, like, wow, I'm lucky, so I need to make the most of this. And then I guess thirdly, everything that's happening now, in the last few weeks with the protests in America, the riots in America, also how absolutely ridiculous the political situation is currently in the UK. I just thought, well, as artists, we're so lucky that we do have platforms to use music to express these points. A lot of operas were written under heavy censorship to prove a point. I think Aida was deliberately set not in Italy, defeat censorship, and so we need to keep. Did that just cut out? Or is that okay?
No, I can
I think
hear
that's a
now.
technical issue. No, I just think we should be motivated that we have a platform in which to express. And if, for example, you know, we have the opportunity to do a concert, we can use that to say, okay, well, we're going to only perform works by Black composers, by female composers, or by composers from the LGBTQ
I also
community.
don't know how to say it.
I know, I'm sorry, I just hesitated on that, but hopefully everyone knows what I mean.
I use,
like how many letters?
All the time I say LGBT.
But
Exactly.
yeah, so that's motivation.
Like, and I'm like, okay, it's quite nice to hear that. It's like, I think it's the same at the moment. I'm finding
you're finding what's happening?
annoying, just keeps cutting.
You're back.
Is it my internet or is it yours? I'm back. Use my voice to say something. And, you know, I've been reading this book by Michelle Obama, which I know it's very late, but I'm just reading it now. And she just says, like, if you have a voice, use it. And to be honest, I was very, like, young and growing up to have a family that is like, if you have something to say, if you have something that needs to be said, if it's not just say it. You know, in young. And I was lucky to be able to do that, to just say it's this is not that. And I think now it's this.
Yeah.
Keeps cutting. I'm so sorry.
I know.
I don't know. Let me just check if it's my internet. No, I don't think so. But yeah, it's just it's important to, as you were saying, like, I think it's important for us to use our platforms for a positive thing, for a progress thing, in a positive way, to not look away, but like, this is not okay, let's change this. This is a sexist system, this is no longer okay. Or this is a homophobic system, this is no longer okay. This is
exactly.
Racist. Of justice is really, it's not okay to be implanted anymore. And I think during this time for me, it's what has motivated me. It's like, okay, I started these talks to kind of see what people are thinking about, bring every artist together, really. But also, I think, as you were talking to me yesterday, I think it's important to, with all that has been happening, it's also important to kind of set boundaries and just say what is not okay.
Yeah, and not be afraid.
Not anymore.
Like, to not be silent, and to use our careers as well to help promote those boundaries, like what is okay and what isn't okay. And we're lucky that we have a job in which we can do that. We can appeal to people, we can touch people, we can help educate people through music. I mean, I'm saying I'm not an educator. Like, I still have to educate. Excuse me, it's not COVID. I still have to educate myself. Like, it's a constant ongoing process, but there are choices that we can make. You know, if I say, oh, I would like to do a recital of German Lied, why should I choose Schumann the man? I could choose Clara instead, and use that to say, hey, girls, you women who want to be composers, look, this woman wrote this amazing music 200 years ago. She did that when she was probably completely objectified. And she did that. So we're lucky in that sense that we can use that as fuel in our careers to promote and to express and to share.
What does it inspire you, like in that way, in that sense?
What inspires me?
And who, or who or what?
Who or what? I kind of think I try to see inspiration in everything. Like, even if it's a bad situation or like a problematic situation. At the moment, I do find a lot of inspiration in the people in the United States who are getting out there to protest in the middle of a pandemic. I think that's amazing. I guess I'm inspired by the attitude that people have when everything can look really, really bleak, yet they still keep going.
Yeah.
Because I think that puts a lot of things into perspective. And it's a good check. It's a good way to check in with yourself. I don't think I have like a person as a complete inspiration, but lots of little situations or things that I see or read, I guess, or people that I talk to, and I think, wow, that's incredible, they did that.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. What is like, does that have like an impact on you in a way, like to do something? Or
Sorry, who has an impact on me?
if like seeing these situations, does that, like, what type of impact does that make in you? Does that make sense?
I think seeing everything that's happening right now, it made me really wake up and realize that being accountable for things is completely necessary. It's a hard step, but it's necessary. And it made me realize that no matter where we are or who we are or what stage of a career, whatever career we're at, we constantly need to educate. And whether that's, on reading books about our history, reading books about colonialization, reading books on composers who came before us, on performers who came before us, or readdressing our work ethic to be a more holistic process, to keep doing that, because there is so much work to in all of us, like professionally and personally. So I think that's the impact on me, has been to kind of unite the professional and the personal to be able to, I guess, try and do something good, or try to be part of that change in a way that actually does something, and rather than just being thoughts and prayers. I would say. Yeah,
definitely. I think like this is the moment where we need to do something, and then it's kind of like frustrating to like to see when people kind of don't, and then you're like trying to like educate them, like do this, that. And I think that we can use that as jobs to like, like we as an artist is the same as we outside that little cubicle stage, whatever.
Yeah, it shouldn't just switch off between like Anna the soprano and Anna at home. Like in my case, it should be a mix. And actually, I recently saw, it was only this morning, I saw a recording of Audra McDonald singing some Gershwin, and because of everything that's happening right now, it completely changed how I saw it. Like, she was speaking about her man being gone, and I was like, that is huge. That's a huge part of African American culture. And before, I might have been like, oh, that's a really, that's a nice Gershwin song, like that's really cool, I would love to be able to sing that. And now I see it as, wow, if you get to a point in your career where you can stand on a platform and sing a Gershwin song like that, that's huge. Like, that's huge in what it demonstrates. So that had a really big impact on me in how I look at the songs that I'm learning, or the arias that I'm learning. It's like I've almost re-seen the context in which they were written, and what my duty as a performer is to honor them. Like, rather than being like, oh, that's really beautiful, or that's a really beautiful character, or that would be amazing to sing. There's so much indulgence in that. whether it should be like, you know, this was written for a reason and this is what it means and this is how it can be interpreted now, and like we need to honor that as musicians. And I think it takes a lot of reflection to be able to do that justice. So yeah, that was a huge impact. And again, oh, there you are. Hello.
Can you hear me now? Is it me or is it?
Can't. I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
You're there.
Jesus Christ. I don't know
Sorry,
what's going on.
people who are listening.
Can you guys hear? It's the
Hopefully.
distance. It's the distance.
Yeah.
It's too much social distancing.
I know. Even technology's had enough.
Exactly. No, it was really nice to hear, like, because like the same for me is like the way I hear Jesse Norman's, you know, the Spirituals album that she had. And at the beginning, even me, I would hear them. I would be like, oh, that's, you know, that's nice, that's cute, or that's a pretty song. And now when you hear, it's just like, oh, you really like feel that in a total different way, and it's just,
you feel what it meant for her.
Yeah,
you can see it.
And then yeah, it's life changing. I think it's life changing. I think it's life changing when you want to do better, and you want to. The more you kind of get involved, is like the more you kind of. I don't know how to explain. It's like.
It's fuel.
Exactly.
It's like it keeps the fire burning.
It's a very it's interesting as a feeling, really. But yeah, it definitely has changed my goals, I think. What about you?
Yeah, for sure.
You think
I think so too. It's given more of a sense of purpose. Like I think it's very easy in the arts to get a bit selfish, or think like, I want this career for myself because I've worked so hard and I deserve this, and you know, blah blah blah. It's very easy to be indulgent and competitive in a way that is probably not very kind. So I think this has changed it for me in the sense that there's a purpose to art, and we should be doing this to honor that. Oh, God's sake, to honor that purpose.
Coronavirus.
I'm not. It's not. It's just because I decided to cycle in the glorious British summertime weather this morning, which is probably a bad idea. No, but art has a purpose. It always has done, and I think we should, or like my goals are more to deliver that purpose now than to do something just for myself. It's like one of my relatives in Italy once said, if you have a voice, it's un dono del Dio, like it's a gift from God. Un dono del Dio.
Un dono del Dio.
Yeah, un dono, it's a gift. And you know, religion aside or whatever, it's a blessing if you have a talent and you've had the ability or you've had the means to educate that and nurture that. So I think that it should be respected and it should be used to do some good rather than just wanting to look gorgeous and get loads of praise on a stage. Which I think everybody in their career has enjoyed at moments. It's kind of part and parcel of it.
Yeah,
but
it's part of it. Yeah,
it should be checked as well.
I think sometimes we get a little bit lost in, you know, as you were saying, like it's like I worked hard, I do this, and it's kind of we get confused with, yes, okay, we worked hard, but then it's for them, it's for someone else, it's for you know, the reason why I do harpsichord is one day when I was doing my final recital back in Portugal in 2000, I guess. I can't remember. It was like ages ago. And this kid, he's a teenager. He was like 10 or something. And he was like, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. Like I want to go on stage and play the harpsichord. And I was like, this is why we do this, you know, like for people that come to us. And you know, I have a couple of older ladies when I was doing a recital here in Paris, and they came up to me and they were like, I really enjoyed like how sensitive you were. Like I really enjoyed your sensitivity, and thank you for touching me. And I think it's important to, right, it's good because it's for us, like our hard work, our technique put that in a way. But then when we are on stage, it's like, it's not about us, it's not about you, it's not about, you know, if you're a female, if you're a male, if you're white, if you're black, if you're heterosexual, if you're homosexual or bisexual or pansexual or whatever. It's just, it's that moment, it's the music. It's
the sharing the gift.
It's just sharing. And as you were saying, you don't know the idea. It's just, if you have something to say, use it for change, use it for good.
Yep.
And try to like keep checking, because you know it's easy to get lost in that me kind of thing. But sometimes just like do a little bit of recentering and why exactly we do what we do, and why exactly do we share music, if that makes sense.
Totally.
I think that was one of my biggest decisions that I made during quarantine, I think. Like how to...
Yeah, it's like repurposing what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too. That's been a blessing of having time to reflect and really think about what's happening in the world. It's been a good opportunity to, reset, I think. Reset and stay on the same path, but with a slightly different direction.
Yeah. What do you think has changed for you, like not only, well, you know, professionally, but also like personal, or both, like both Hannah on stage and Hannah at home?
What has changed? I mean, in a way, I think it'd be very hard to go back exactly to how things were before. I don't think I want to, actually. I don't think I want to go back to that. So that in itself is a huge change, because it's saying, no, that life pre-quarantine wasn't right on so many levels. And now we've had this time, everything happens for a reason. So now big changes have to happen. So that everything has changed, I would say, like absolutely everything. And so it should. I think it would be a real tragedy if things went back to the way they were.
Well, hopefully not.
Like we've all got a job to do right now.
we exactly. We all have something to do. It's
yeah.
I think that's, for me, it's what has changed. It's like I have a duty, like in a way, to kind of teach people and make them, you know, learn something. Looking back, I don't think I want to go there.
No.
Like I'm very grateful for like all my education that were before, but I feel like now that I'm almost done, you know, awaits me. And I think like I feel that it's really important to give voice to what we do, really. Just, you know, use it for good thing, use it to make changes. In my ways, just like use it to, you know, present yourself as you are, and not being afraid or in a way ashamed when someone makes you like a little comment on you know, your racial color or whatever. And what I think has changed for me is like try to kind of repair those situations that might happen with other people, because what has happened to me, it has happened to me. That's done. That's the past. But to kind of use music to make a difference, to educate, to do something.
Yep. To
in a
use
way.
it with a purpose.
Yeah. What do you think, like looking back, would you think that you would have done something different, or would have changed a different path?
No, I definitely wouldn't have changed path in terms of career. Someone's written a question. I wouldn't have changed path in terms of career, but I maybe would have slowed down, or like not put so much pressure on myself to conform to things that I wasn't.
Yeah.
Probably. Does listening to famous soprano recordings influence a lot your work, and does it get in the way of finding your own voice?
Good question. Wow.
Listening to music I think it depends when you listen to it. Like everyone has a different learning process. So I tend not to listen first and work on the music very methodically myself, in like my way, because I'm just a perfectionist and that's what I do. And then I will listen to some interpretations and take from them the things that I like or the things that interest me, or I will try and contextualize them for the era and say, like, why was it sung in this way in that time, and try and work out what that meant and then bring it into what I do. I think when you're younger, it can get in the way of finding your own voice. Like when I was a teenager with a baby voice, I used to think, oh, well, I'm going to be like Maria Callas and sing Violetta by the time I'm like 20, which some people can do, but it's pretty rare. So I think that can sometimes be dangerous because it gives an urgency to want to develop into a singer that you're not yet ready to be, both in terms of technique and vocal maturity, and also in terms of life experience. Can't sing well. A lot of 19-year-olds can't sing rape and trauma and heartbreak. Sometimes you need to have lived a little bit to get to that point. But it can also be inspiring. It can be very inspiring to listen to other singers and look at their biography a bit and see how they got there, and listen to that just break your heart every time you listen to them, and try and work those things in to yourself. But it's important, I think, to keep that in check, to surround yourself with teachers that you trust, and have good mentors if you're able to have them, I would say.
What is for you like the definition of hard work then?
Professionally?
Yes. And it's worth it in a way.
The definition of hard work to me is, first of all, you've got to believe in what you're doing. You've got to believe in what you're singing. You've got to believe in the role. You work absolutely methodically on the text, on the translations, with a metronome. I hated metronomes for years until my teacher decided to name my metronome Mike. And so he said, never let Mike leave your side. Metronome work, really doing kind of like the boring technical side of things and exploring what your voice is available to do. And then inhabiting it, like just losing yourself in it, and allowing your technique to give you the artistry. Easier said than done, and it doesn't always pay off, or some things are just not right, or you go and do a performance and for some reason you just make mistakes in loads of places that you wouldn't normally make them, or you forget your words. That's happened. But I think it's just dedicating yourself to it, like absolutely dedicating yourself to it. It's almost like an obsession. Yeah, obviously work hard, but live as well. Otherwise it's dangerous.
I think it's
dangerous
also be like ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We have like beating ourselves down, and instead of like, okay, this went bad, but this went well.
Yeah, trying to see mistakes or times where you mess up as a positive thing to work on, rather than as a disaster. But it's hard, you know, if you're standing on stage and you think, oh shit, I don't know my words, and then you come off stage and it's you know, it's awful how you feel afterwards. But you just have to, everyone does it, we're human, so we just have to move on from it.
It's really a moment of panic though.
Oh, it's awful. It's it happened once when I was singing Gretel. I was on stage by myself. It never happened before. The piano started and I just did la la la. But like, I think the first two verses of the song, because it's in German, which isn't one of my strengths, and I just went poof. It just left me, and luckily it was like a nursery rhyme, so la 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 didn't sound so bad. But I just thought, oh my god, could you imagine if it was like some really famous aria that like everybody knows, and I was just on stage doing la la la? It was awful. And the director after, she said, she was just like, I noticed that. And I was like, sorry, it won't happen again.
Sorry. Yeah, that happened to me also when we did L'Enfant le Sortilège. And I was doing Pâtre at the time. And I had like one line. And I was like, oh shit, what's my line? Oh shit, and then eventually I knew my line, but like, oh my god, it was like that microsecond just before you start singing, and then it like, right, this is okay, yes.
It's real fear. The fear is real.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, it is. But it does happen to all of us. I think every musician has had a memory slip. Or I don't know. There's always something that goes wrong. And you just have to think afterwards, well, it went wrong, but I still managed to do it.
Yeah.
So then that's, and most of the time the audience doesn't know. Luckily.
The thing that I hate is when, like, especially like on the harpsichord, it's like when I kind of zone out and then I don't pay attention to the score anymore, and then I'm like, oh shit.
You're just like, where am I? Where am I in the score?
That's really bad. But it's all fun. It's all fun. It's all very fun.
It's part of the job.
It's part of the job, and just like live and learn.
Yeah. Exactly.
On a different question, what do you like to bring different to your work world environment? You know, like post-COVID, post-quarantine, post-virus, whatever.
What would I like to bring? I guess the best version of myself. Always. That's a hard question. Or just an openness, and kind of like what we've been saying this whole time, just not being afraid to stand up for things, and just saying, you know, not being afraid to call something out, or not being afraid to stand up for other people too, or not being afraid to say no to something, or not apply to something because I don't agree with it. I guess is what I would bring. And always an open mind. I think it's a simple thing, but it makes a big difference. What was that question? If you had dinner with Callas and Pavarotti and he was cooking his famous pasta, I didn't actually know he had a famous pasta. Is there a specific question you would like to ask him? Yeah, what's the recipe? I would ask him what his recipe is. I would ask him how he has the most sublime R vowel that never feels like swallowed or like in his throat. I would like to ask him hi Nico. I would also like to ask him what he feels. Like what he feels when he sings.
You mean,
I would love to ask him what he feels, or how he balances the emotion and not letting it run away with him too much, because that's a hard thing, you know. If you're singing an aria that's completely heartbreaking, you need to make it real, but not too real, because if you start to cry, everything here just chokes up, so you can't properly sing. I don't know what I'd like to ask Callus though.
Hi.
I don't think I'd be able to speak. And I'd probably be terrified as well. I don't know, because she had quite an interesting life, didn't she? So
Oh, yeah.
I guess I would ask her how she managed to, I don't know, keep herself together or come back after receiving quite a harsh commentary on her life, like about her weight, about her love life, about the changes in her voice after she lost so much weight. God, I could spend hours talking to Callus, probably.
But she's one of those artists as well, like she did what she believed in.
Yeah.
And like she wasn't afraid to like speak her mind. And I think that's really what at the moment. That's
she is a true. Yeah, she would be useful to have around right now. Her and Jessie Norman, two powerhouses of opera, they would be brilliant right now. Yeah, for sure.
Jessie Norman, she would be like screaming her lungs out.
Yeah, she would. She'd be at the forefront. She'd be great. She'd be absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. They were quite some characters though.
Yeah. There's a very good book actually. I don't have it around me, which is interviews with the greatest sopranos of the last century. When we post this afterwards, I'll write it in the comments because I can't remember what it's called specifically, but it's really insightful to learn about sopranos and how they worked and their voice types over the last 100 years.
I have the book of Jessie Norman. I don't have it here. It's the the Stand Up Straight and Sing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this passage where she goes, a lot has changed, but like when, and then she uses a self example. She was in the hotel and she was swimming in the hotel, and then the security came up to her and was like, excuse me, this is just for guests, like just for people of the hotel only. And then she was like doing her life, like continuing swimming. And then the guy was like, excuse me, did you hear, like you're not allowed to be here. And then she kind of like said something like, what's your name? And then like
who are you?
Exactly, who are you? And then she was like, right, well, yes, I'm a guest at this hotel. I'm paying my room, And then she says like, experiences as well, and just see where she came from and where she kind of ended up in. Hello?
Hi.
Oh,
You're still there.
This internet is so annoying. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see, and I think I want to actually do that, like be different in that way. Not not being like shady to a security guard, but like just to like make sure that younger artists than me, or whatever, make sure that everyone has the same treatment, make sure that everyone has the same opportunity, really. And instead of before that we said like, oh, put here your sexual orientation and blah blah, and just like, no, don't agree to that. It's no.
Yeah, not being afraid to say exactly what you think, like Callas.
It's exactly okay, and I think it's not okay anymore.
Emma, what is the most important lesson that you've learned from opera that you've applied to other aspects of your life? Oh, listening. I would say probably listening, because in opera you're alone. Most of the time you're alone, but you're also with the orchestra. Eventually you're with, or just the accompanist. Should always respect the accompanist. So you're very much a lone wolf, but you're also very much part of something huge. So you've got to be able to strike that balance, and you've constantly got to listen. You've got to be so aware all the time of everything that's happening around you. So I think listening really, and really fine-tuning into instinct and intuition and how the people around you are feeling, and channeling your own energy and the energies of those around you. I guess also as well in the industry, it can take quite a lot of mental resilience, because you constantly get rejected. Some people are rejected from the get-go, you know, like people from some poor communities, people of color, like we were saying earlier in the conversation, they just think from the get-go, I can't do that because I'm not going to be welcome. But also when you're in the industry, I can't even count how many rejections, you know, it gets to a certain point where you're just like, oh, okay. Like no is so common that when you get a yes, like, I don't know about you, George, but if I get an acceptance email, I have to read it about 50 times and like show my parents about 10 times just to be like, is that real? Is that real? So you build this resilience. Yeah, you build this tolerance to just be like, you know, it's like every single door slams and you're like, no, I'm gonna keep going. Like, I believe in myself, I believe in what I do, I'm gonna keep going. So you build like a really tough resilience, and you know, sometimes it gets to you and you have a good cry, you have a good drink, you feel a bit shit for a while, or you might not practice for a week or two, but then you have to find some kind of courage or some reason to keep going. And that definitely seeps into
come back to your path.
And it seeps into who you are personally. I think that you just, most of the time in a positive way, but also in a way that, you know, sometimes it can be hard to turn that off. Like sometimes you need to give yourself a break. But probably that, listening and resilience, I would say. Good question.
Yeah. Well, resilience, I think it's key for everyone.
Yeah.
It's very important to, well, this is like you said, when I get a yes, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, like, I cry every time I get a yes. I honestly, I cry because I don't believe it. Sorry that I missed out the conversation. Don't worry. On that note, so you think the opera community does enough to ensure representation of different communities, such as BIPOC, for example? I don't think the opera community does enough. No, not currently. Not at all. It's an exception to work with someone of color, and it shouldn't be. So not at the moment. Hopefully they will start to be more, so hopefully those people will start to be more represented. Yeah, whether that's current artists or past artists, like past composers or whoever. I hope that.
Okay.
Drama. So no, they're not represented at all. It's a very the music industry is very white and very elite.
Yep. I can confirm that.
It's also very male dominated in the higher echelons and in conductors and composers.
It's funny to see, because like I when I was younger, I would observe more than I would, and it would be interesting to see how people would treat you, like if you were, let's say a woman playing the piano. I remember like the teacher was giving a pep talk to her student, like, oh, use this dress and then use this shoe because blah blah. And I'm like, well, what like there's no, it's really tiring. And the thing that you were saying about resilience is like, I used to do a lot of competitions, and I just don't do them anymore because it's so tiring to do them. And then that you went well because you know what you did. Speak more. Don't be afraid to like use my experiences. Oh, I was saying about the competitions. Me as a black guy, I just know when I went to competitions, it's just really hard. Like you just know it's hard.
Competitions are brutal anyway, and then
then you have that extra hardness when you kind of you see the panel and they kind of look at you, and it's just like you just feel that blank.
Yeah.
And I have good examples of that happening. You know, like a really good competition where I really felt really great. And then even my teacher was there, my ancient teacher from Portugal was there. And then when the results came out, my name wasn't there. And instead, it was the name of this guy that had the teacher as the panel of the jury. And I remember he's playing.
Typical.
It was very hard to kind of swallow that. And then you kind of, during that time of that competition, you have people coming talking to you like, oh yeah, I really thought that you should have gone to the final, blah blah blah. And it's just like, why are you talking to me now? You should have spoken during the you know, because this person that came talk to me was a jury of the panel. And I'm like, it's not now that you have to speak it up. It was there, that moment. It's been a week now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm depressed at home, but it's been a week. Like, there's no point in coming now and saying blah blah blah. So it's this kind of thing that I think I would like to do. Like,
well, the more people talk, or the more people say something is or isn't okay, then the more progress will be made, and the more people can be represented and in a healthier environment.
Yeah.
Like across the board. So much stuff goes on that everyone knows about, but it's not said. And so it continues, and we're all complicit in that, because so many of us have just said, oh, that was shit, or that's not right, or that was really corrupt, or I feel awful. And yet we don't say anything. We might have a good little complain about it afterwards, or a good cry, or feel a bit angry, but that's not going to help it change.
Yeah, it's quite hard to cope sometimes. But yeah, I think, as you said, like, resilience, that's the key as well.
Yeah, resilience and listening and talking and having a purpose in performance.
This is my favorite question that I'm going to ask you now.
Oh no, what?
Where do you see yourself after the pandemic?
Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paris. Well, yeah, literally next month in Royaumont in Paris.
I'm so excited.
Singing Iphigénie en Tauride. That's the next step. And then hopefully doing more things like that in France. I'm hoping that, well, the Kathleen Ferrier competition is being rescheduled. I'm hoping my Britain Peers course I'm hoping my Britain Peers course will also get rescheduled. Marla and the Late Romantics. So that would be some lush music making. And then hopefully, you know, after those performance opportunities, there will be some more. And I hope in 5 years the world will be different in a positive way, and that whatever I'm doing as an artist will have a positive impact on that. Like, I would like to be part of those positive changes, helping them and doing what I can to fuel that fire, really, I guess.
Great so far.
Sorry?
You're doing great so far.
Thanks. So are you. So yeah, I guess that 5 years, it's a short time, but it's a long time.
Yeah, a lot of things can change.
A lot of things can change.
Paris, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think Paris is the place to be for me personally. Yeah, I feel that's where I need to be, and that's where my base needs to be. And yeah, we'll see.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for you to be here. I'm just like waiting.
Work hard, play harder.
Just like, where are you now? Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun though. I'm yet to rehearse with social distancing. Apparently you were supposed to wear masks, so opera in a mask is gonna be not quite sure how that's gonna work in terms of like reverb, but But we'll see. It's going to be an experience.
Start practicing it.
Yeah, I might do that at home. I might start practicing with a mask on.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, it's the new normal, so
Definitely.
might as well start.
There's been still like some videos of people like posting and they are like rehearsing and you see them with the masks. And yeah, it's I think it's a challenge. Like especially because you have to articulate every word even harder. So that like, and I'm like, is this really gonna work?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, if it keeps everyone safe, I can't really argue with that. But I know personally, I really need like space away from me when I sing. So to have something like this, I think is going to be just really irritating. But it is what we have to do, and if that's what we have to do in order to keep performing, then it's a small price to pay.
Start practicing with them.
Yeah, I am going to do that actually. I'm going to start practicing with my mask on, some gloves, some like really attractive rubber gloves or something. Have my hand gel in my pocket.
The hand just be like, don't.
Yeah, exactly. Get some goggles, or like one of those visors.
Social distancing.
Yeah, it could just be like a postmodern. Well, Iphigenie en Tauride is a Greek tragedy, so we could use it as like a modern interpretation of a Greek masque.
Yeah,
there you go. There you go. We'll go talk to costume about that.
Like, we should hire you like to do the design on the stage.
Yeah, but it's screw being a soprano. I'm just going to do post-COVID costumes.
Exactly.
There we go.
Okay, last question before the questions of the people.
Okay.
Do you think the arts are and will still be important?
Yeah, I have to believe that. I have to believe that they'll be even more important. Like, they always were important. I think people now, because of COVID, realize their worth and realize how they need them. If you think of any moment of human crisis, there's been music. Shostakovich in the Second World War, writing the Leningrad Symphony. People always use music. So I think, and I hope, and I want to believe that people value it even more. Yeah. And because of COVID, and then because of the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening now, people will value it even more, to be a beacon of representation and purpose, and a really beautiful tool of communication. So yes, yeah, I think it will be more important. It has to be. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, it has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing amazing. I think we're doing a good job so far.
Touch wood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, now we'll leave the questions for the people if they have questions.
Yeah, we've already had some really good ones. If anyone has anything else.
Otherwise, we're gonna have some wine.
Yeah.
Guess no.
Otherwise, we'll call it a day.
Well, it was great.